The story begins in an orphanage in London, England. Little Sophie, Ruby Barnhill, is awake at the witching hour, when the boogeyman appears. She glances out the window and sees 4 drunken men frolicking in the streets. Sophie screams at them and threatens to call the cops. Sophie returns to her bed and hears another sound coming from a different window. She notices cats running through the garbage and knocking over a trash can. The bin is picked up by a big hand. Sophie notices a huge man, Mark Rylance, passing by. He hears her exclamation. The giant reaches through the window and pulls Sophie from her bed. He slips through the streets unnoticed and runs all the way back to Giant Country. The giant, nicknamed the Big Friendly Giant or BFG for short, places Sophie on a table and begins to chop up a disgusting-looking vegetable called a snozzcumber. Sophie fears the BFG will devour her, but he claims he does not eat children or humans. BFG claims he took Sophie to keep her from spreading word of a huge sighting for fear of being hunted down by mankind. BFG also has an odd vocabulary, for example, his right and wrong is right and left. BFG reads Sophie a book and she falls asleep after she realizes he is not a threat. He then proceeds to his dream collection, which he has in jars. Sophie dreams that she has been kidnapped by an even greater giant that eats her as the BFG waits in the distance helpless. When she gets up, the BFG tells her that he gave her the dream. BFG drinks a green-colored drink, a bubbly green drink with bubbles that go down rather than up. It also causes witzpoppers, explosive farts. Fleshlum Peter, Jermaine Clement, the same giant from Sophie's dream, enters BFG's home moments later. He and the other much taller giants frequently harass BFG and refer to him as a runt because he is much smaller than the rest. Sophie hides in the snozzcumber, which is picked up by Fleshlum Peter. He almost takes a bite when BFG tells him that he dislikes greens. Fleshlum Peter leaves with the frobscottle. BFG helps goo-covered Sophie clean herself. He pulls some spare clothes from a pile for her to wear. She dons a scarlet coat that belonged to another youngster whom the BFG had befriended before he was devoured by one of the other giants. The BFG then shows Sophie all of the many types of dreams he has gathered. BFG is preparing to take Sophie to the hill where he collects dreams, but he must first pass Fleshlum Peter and his gang of huge minions while they are sleeping. BFG and Sophie flee, but BFG gets captured by one of the giants. Sophie takes refuge inside a truck. BFG is tossed around by the giants like a football. They come to a halt when it begins to rain because they are scared of it. Sophie mistakenly leaves a blanket behind, which Fleshlum Peter discovers and sniffs, sensing the existence of a person. BFG and Sophie make it to the top of the hill. They jump into a lake, which transports them to the land of dreams. One particular dream flies past BFG and escapes him. Sophie gets it, and the BFG declares it to be her dream. The two travel to London so that BFG can show how he grants people dreams. BFG puts a dream into his trumpet and offers a youngster a dream in which he receives a phone call from the President of the United States. When BFG understands Sophie's blanket was most likely discovered by the other giants, he decides she is no longer secure with him because past children he cared for were eventually abducted and eaten by Fleshlum Peter and his friends. Sophie is returned to the orphanage by the BFG. She calls to him at night. He hears her and resolves to return her. The giants storm into BFG's house and begin trashing it, letting his dreams run wild as they break things. BFG is fed up and scares them away with fire and water. Sophie has an idea after seeing a portrait of Queen Elizabeth, Penelope Wilton, in BFG's house. They invent a nightmare in which giants kidnap and consume children, in which the Queen will meet Sophie as she waits on the ledge. After making up the dream, the two go to Buckingham Palace and set it in the Queen's mind. She awakens from her nightmare, alerting her maid Mary, Rebecca Hall, and butler Mr. Tibbs, Rafe Spall. Mary notices a newspaper headline about the disappearance of children in London as the Queen narrates her dream. Sophie then alerts the three of them at the window to her presence. Because the Queen has already seen this in her dream, she agrees, only to discover Sophie is with the BFG. Sophie invites him, but he is too terrified to come out. As BFG walks out, Mr. Tibbs summons the royal guards. Tibbs is ordered by the Queen to have them stand down, which they do. Sophie formally introduces everyone to the BFG and informs the Queen that they require her assistance. Sophie and the BFG are served a supper by the Queen's staff. BFG is overjoyed to be eating something other than snozzcumbers for a change. Sophie explains to the Queen that the giants in her dream are genuine and that they are actually abducting children. The aim is to travel to Giant Country and apprehend the evil giants. The BFG then pours some frobscottle for the Queen, Tibbs, some staff members, and even the dogs. The BFG and Sophie wait until the giants are asleep to instill nightmares in their thoughts. BFG, on the other hand, left his trumpet behind. Sophie rushes into the field with a jar of nightmares, releasing them into the mouths of the giants. Only Fleshlumpeter is immune. He plans an attack, but the troops arrive in time and capture him and the other giants. They are dumped on a lonely island and offered to eat only snozcumbers for the rest of their lives. Sophie eventually finds a home in the Queen's palace under Mary's care. She describes a dream she had in which she saw the BFG's house, which now has a garden in which he grows more excellent vegetables. She wakes up by opening the window. "Good morning, BFG," she says. The movie ends with Sophie smiling and far away BFG hears her smile. Thanks for watching. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.